Hey, Florian. Hey, Michael. Happy New Year to you, Michael. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. It's good to feel something fresh in the air, Yeah, just looping. How's everybody? Anything on your mind that you want to share or explore together? Maybe I'll noodle a little bit more. See if some questions come in. Michael's got a question. Okay. Hey, Adam, I can play melodies. Excuse me. I can play melodies and comp with a metronome/rhythm section, but do you have advice for how to achieve better rhythmic clarity and variety for improvised lines? Hey, Berger. Yeah, Michael. Sure. Yeah, if you're looking for better rhythmic clarity, yeah, many years ago, I took a lesson or a few lessons really um, with a clarinetist, an improviser named Ben Goldberg. It was really great, and there was an exercise that he showed me that I found really helpful for rhythmic clarity. And it goes like this. We're going to start with one bar phrases, and you could expand it to bigger phrases. Well, let's just start with one. The easiest little place to start would be to have one kind of rhythmic line uh, that moves on certain beats and rests in other places, and then improvise from that. So I'll show you what I mean. Like, let's think of a line that goes uh, dotted quarter, eighth quarter, quarter. So that's if we're at this tempo, that would be da ba da 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 ba da da. So I'm going to do that in A minor. I'm not going to worry too much about anything but rhythm, and that I'm going to stay in A minor. To keep it really simple, I'll do it in A minor pentatonic, but then I'll take it maybe to some other pitches as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the way that Ben showed me this exercise, you don't loop it. So that's why I'm not turning on the looper. You play one measure or two or three, or whatever your phrase is, and you stop, and then you do it again. And 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yeah. I said I was going to stay in pentatonic. I'll start to explore a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll do slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on. So you could do that exercise on one rhythm for, maybe 5 minutes would be a good length of time before your mind starts to wander. You could do it in different keys. You could do it atonally, not even worrying about a key center, and just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're really, really focusing on rhythm. But that may not be helpful to get you into real idiomatic, melodic phrasing in whatever style you're trying to play. So that was really helpful. You could expand that to a 2-bar phrase. So let's go ba 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 ba. So ba 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 ba. I think that's what I did. 1, 3, 4. Ba 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 ba. Yes, 1, 2. Yeah. So then in the second bar we hit on 2 and the end of 3. So bang, go, 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 1, 2, 3, and. So let's go to G major. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on. You could do longer phrases, different tempos, different key centers, and on and on. I found that really, really, really helpful to me to think about it, to draw it on music paper or even just regular paper if you don't have music paper around. So you're real clear. It's 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and right. So that's where it happens. Another exercise that Ben Goldberg showed me that was helpful and is surprisingly difficult when I work on this by myself or with students. They always kind of shrug it off like, that's not going to be very hard. And it's really hard, which is to do the same exercise, but we're not we're not doing the whole, we're not pre-planning all of the rhythm, just an end point. So we'll play a 2-bar phrase and we'll end on the and of 2, and we'll do it in D minor this time. So blah, 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 blah. So the and of 2 in the second bar. So 2, 3, 4. Blah, 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 blah. So whatever happens, you end on the and of 2. So in D minor, 1, 2, 3. One, two, three, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, and 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3. Right? So that seems like it would be easy, but it's actually, for me anyway, harder than when you plan the whole thing. If you just have an end point, it's easy to just get lost in the flow of whatever you're doing. But anyway, Michael and everybody else, those are the exercises that I found to give me real rhythmic clarity, was to just, surprise, surprise, focus on rhythm and phrases and beginnings and middles and endings and see what happens. So try that out. Burger, oh, Rafael is here from Brazil. Happy New Year from the UK, from Clive McGowan. Thank you. Connor Smith says, hey, Adam, what are your strategies when playing jazz with a piano player? Full band with horns, etc. Yeah. When I'm playing with a piano player, Connor, or with a full band with horns, which I do sometimes. I play in New York pretty regularly with a band with 3 horns and piano, bass, and drums and guitar. I find what I do a lot is lay out, to be honest. Unless you're really, really good at, Freddie Green style, 4 to the bar, Count Basie rhythm. Do you know what I'm talking about? Freddie Green was the rhythm guitar player in Count Basie's band. He played a archtop guitar like the one I have back there. No microphone, no pickup. It just played. And on the records, there's microphones, but I think if you saw the band live, you wouldn't necessarily hear him very loudly. It's more something you feel. So if you're really great at that and you've got a good sound, because you can't really play Freddie Green on to my taste, on a lot of electric guitar, if you try to play that way, it doesn't sound quite right. I'm sure you've heard somebody do it and sound great, but to my aesthetic, I feel like that's really an acoustic guitar style, that one chord on every beat. So unless you're really, really, really steeped in that style, then I would lay out. That's what I do a lot, and nobody complains. Surprisingly, you can stand there for a whole minute and play nothing, and nobody turns around and says, "Hey, man, play something." I remember reading an interview with Jim Hall that where his advice was, "Don't just play something, sit there." It was a joke on don't just sit there, play something. So it's okay to do nothing, and it's okay to think more like a horn player. Think of how much time the trombone player is not playing anything, and that's fine. So you could kind of put yourself in that headspace. As far as, if let's say you're just playing duo with piano and you want to do more, not just sit there. I would try to find a smaller chords to play. Like if the chord is A minor 7, let me get a little jazzier sound. If the chord is an A minor 7 on the chart, you don't have to play this chord, which is 4 notes. You could just play a shell voice voicing, which is root 7/3. Or you could even leave the bass off and just play the upper 3 notes or just the middle 2 notes. You could try playing just on the middle 2 strings, and it takes practice, but like here's all the things you are just on the middle 2 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I got lost. And I'm playing kind of long. You could play more rhythmically. This is the last bit. 2, 3, 4. Now I'm on 3 strings. You see, so I'm mostly playing the thirds and the sevenths of the chords, and I'm staying as much as possible on those middle 2 strings. That's a good way to stay out of the piano player's way. But it's not just staying out of the way. A better way to think of it is to get into it together. Um, so it's there's more something collaborative that you're doing. You also might try getting a thinner sound than you usually do. Otherwise, there's just the piano is going to eat up a lot of frequencies where you might want to play. So sometimes a little brighter sound could be good, whether that's something that you do by adjusting the knobs or just playing closer to the bridge or whatever. Try that. So sometimes the sound is really the thing that helps the blend. Um, the time feel, really focusing on getting in there with the rhythm section and swinging if you're playing jazz music. When you say you're playing with horns and a piano player, I assume it's something on the jazz side of things. Um, yeah, yeah. The short of it is, when I'm on those kind of gigs, I try to model myself more on what the horn players are doing than on what the piano player is doing. Don't try to have 2 piano players going, but it's okay if you're kind of an adjunct horn section member. Also, watch them. Maybe there's ways that you can play some of the lines with the horns and blend in with them, play riffs and stuff. That's really fun. The guitar blends really well with trombone. The guitar blends really well with sax. Sometimes with trumpet, but guitar and trombone is a great blend. Uh, let's see, Alex. Let me back up because I think I missed some things. So, okay, Connor, I answered Connor Smith's question. Alex Farron, Happy New Year, Adam. Great to be able to make it along to one of these finally. Oh, welcome. Welcome. I hope you're doing well. Rafael says, a thing I do for some students to increase their rhythmic is to take a solo like the intro to The Thrill Is Gone, and after mastering it, use the exact rhythm of this solo, but with new melodies. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Yeah, transcribe a solo and then put new notes into the rhythm of that. That's a great idea. Yeah, I like that a lot. Florian says, "Thank you for the phrase. This phrasing thing is great. Cool. Thank Ben Goldberg. He showed it to me." Gianpaolo Capelli is here. Berger says, "What does Berger say?" I've been working on the standard I should care lately. When improvising on the first two bars of 2/5s, I feel really restricted on that. Oh, Berger. Let's see. Hmm. Well, can you tell me a little bit more, Berger? Tell me how you feel restricted, and then I'll try to answer it. I'm going to answer some other questions, but tell me a little bit more specifically what you mean. Gianpaolo says, "Do you have some recommendations to improve time feeling? I'm not satisfied with the accuracy of my playing. I try to play more with the metronome. Do you have some exercise to improve accuracy?" Um, I just really, try to think about all of the beats and accounting for them. Uh, if you just have a metronome going and you try to play along and you're not really feeling the time in your body, you're just hoping that your pick will, hit the string at the right time. You could practice that way a long time and not get more accurate. So I really try, if you're reading something like an exercise from a book or something, before you even pick up the guitar, I would uh, look at the music on the page and clap the rhythm so you're really clear about each beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then all the subdivisions. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a, so that you're really thinking about all those things as subdivisions and not just letting 16th notes be like, I got to get from here to here and I've got 4 notes to get there, and however it works, it works. Like, uh, I haven't heard you play, so what I'm saying is very general, but this is what I find in students when I'm working on them with rhythm is that they're really kind of just, if it fits in the bar, that's good enough, but that's not good enough. You want to be able to really feel in your body, where is 1, where is 2, where is the and of 2, where is the E of 2, 1 E and a 2 E and 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. So like here, I'll do 1 E and a 2 and 4, 1 E and a 2 and 3, 4. So you're really doing that. And if you're not reading from a book and you're improvising, then I would go back and do something like the exercise that I was describing earlier, and just really spend time focusing your improvisation practice on specific rhythms. Um, Also, this is something that Wayne Krantz I've heard say in on in interviews and on his Patreon channel. By the way, Wayne Krantz's Patreon channel is really cool. I'm a subscriber there, and he always has very individual and wise perspective on music and practicing, and so you can check out Wayne's Patreon channel. But the thing that he has said that I like a lot is record yourself practicing with the metronome. Just practicing with the metronome you're only doing half of the exercise that you need to do. What you really need to do is practice with the metronome, record that, and then listen to it, and then write down. Listen to yourself play for 5 minutes and write down the specific things that you notice that just as a listener that aren't accurate, and see if you can clarify those specific things. Sometimes some things you might be doing might actually sound better than you think or feel, and other things might not sound as good or clear as you might think they're sounding. So get a listener's perspective by recording yourself, and in the meantime, just really subdivide stuff. Listen to music and move your body. Um, and try to really feel all that stuff. It's not enough to just the time is not going to happen just here. It has to really be in your whole body. So that's what I would recommend. Um, Alex says, "Hey Adam, great to be able to catch you again. Any advice for soloing over changes to the Days of Wine and Roses? Feeling clumsy when trying to bring out the sound of dominant sharp 11 chords." All right, well, I'll see if I can improvise over the Days of Wine and Roses. First, I got to make a little um, chord track. So there's that dominant 7 sharp 11 chord right away. It happens right away. The days. So what I try to do is not shift into a whole other scale. The way that we study jazz, sometimes we think of this as the fourth mode of B flat melodic minor. So the chord is E flat 9, sharp 11, and that's the fourth mode of B flat melodic minor. Which is a long way to go from F major, where you just were 2 beats ago. So it's hard to go. When you're thinking about scales. But that chord has a lot of stuff left over from F in it anyway. G is in the key of F. F is in the key of F. A is in the key of F. If you play the 13 C, the 13 of E flat, that's in the key. Really, there's this F triad that sits at the top of that. An F triad here, C, F, A, that second inversion F triad, gives you the 13, 9, and sharp 11 of that chord. And then if you focus on that, you don't have to leave the key where you already were, because then right after that, we're kind of back in the key pretty quickly. So what I would try to do is just focus on that upper stuff, because it's already in the key. And if you want to hit one note that lets us know that you know that the chord is changing. Maybe D flat. So you can play F. That's just an F arpeggio with D flat thrown in. So listen to that. And here's that chord that's coming up again. So that was an F triad with D flat here. Here we go again. So that's, if we zoom out or zoom in, I'm not sure. You could have a whole scale around that, which would just changing the note that you need to change. So F, here's F major. To get to this E flat dominant, we need to have E flat and D flat. So we could play F, A, excuse me, F, G, A, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F. Now, that might be part of some melodic minor scale or whatever, but I'm not thinking of it that way. I'm just thinking of what do we need to change to accommodate this chord. Everything in E flat 9 with a sharp 11, that's all in the F scale, but we just need to flat the D and flat the E. So but a much kind of more condensed version of that is just to play F triads with D flat. Yeah. Up here I'm playing F major pentatonic, but flatting the Ds. That's another way to get into that sound. So D flat, F, G, A, C, D flat, G, A, C, D flat, F, G, A, C, D flat, F, G, A, so on. So that's a way that I like to get at that sound without the whole major grinding gears of suddenly going to the fourth mode of a melodic minor scale on the third beat of the tune. That's how I do it. Okay. Hope that was helpful, Alex. Rafael says about playing a band. A friend of mine, Joao Castillo, accompanied Javan, and Javan told him, "I like what you played, and I like what you didn't play even more." That's a great lesson. Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah, I loved what you didn't play even more. Oh wow, that's great. Berger Nielsen, quick 2/5s have me playing more arpeggio oriented. I guess my question is, how would you simplify or open the harmony more so that you could play a bit more melodic rather than chasing 2/5s? Right. So I have to think about I Should Care. I should care. Da, 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 da. So let me just do that much in C. I don't know what it is in the real book, but I'll try it and see. I have to erase Days of Wonder Roses. 2, 3, 4. So here's the, can you hear the loop? Okay, I hope there's balance there. I'm just playing the melody now. I'll improvise on when it comes back around. So I'm really not trying to address the 2/5s in any descriptive way. I'm just thinking we're in C, and maybe I'm thinking 5/1, 5/1. It's, just to kind of go like, away from 1, 1, away from 1, 1. And then now we need to get to the 2. Well, let's just start with there. Away from 1 to 1. Instead of going, that's cool too. I like that kind of stuff too. But it sounds like you're frustrated with arpeggios. So you could focus just on the 5. Sometimes I focus just on the 2 in a 2/5, just 2, 1, 2, 1. So that would be like this. So I was just playing like D minor pentatonic on the 2, and then E minor pentatonic as a C major 7 sound. So try that. Just play 5/1 or 2/1. Think of those as just kind of points of movement more than chord arpeggios that need to be articulated. 5/1 is just, if you ever pick up a harmonica, there's just like, when you blow into the harmonica, you get the 1 chord. When you draw, you get the 5 chord. And think of like how much cool stuff harmonica players can play with just, that's all they're really doing. They've got the 1 chord and the 5 chord, but they can play so much more, or it seems like it anyway. So, think of it that way. Or think of what a slide guitar player would do, where they're kind of just locked into what you can get in 1 fret. I mean, I guess you wouldn't play slide with your index. You might play with your ring or your pinky, but you play lines that you don't have to always be playing bebop vocabulary. Do learn some bebop vocabulary, because that helps ground what you're playing in some tradition, but it doesn't have to be literal. Listen to Jim Hall play with Sonny Rollins or with Jimmy Giuffre, or listen to Jim Hall play with anybody. But those are just happen to be bands that I like. Sonny Rollins with Jim Hall on a record called The Bridge, and Jimmy Giuffre played clarinet and saxophone, and he made a couple of different records with Jim Hall over the years. Just really inventive, and that'd be a good guy to check out. Rafael says Chet Baker made melodies that stitched chords together and made it sound like they were simpler than they actually were. That's that's the whole idea, at least for me it is. And every time I try to get into the specifics of arpeggiating chords and stuff, I get frustrated. I mean, there's certain kinds of tunes maybe where it's necessary. I've been playing with Rich Hinman, my bandmate. We've been playing this song "Little Rock Getaway." Let's see. the changes move really quickly. Like and when you kind of have to, you don't have to play all that stuff, but you need to hear it. That's like a really big concept that it's taken me all my life to figure out, and I'm still figuring it out. It's like, to understand improvisation over chord changes, you have to be able to hear all the changes in your mind, but you don't have to play them. They're already there. Hopefully you've got a piano player or another guitar player or just a really great bass player who's establishing what the chords are. We don't need you in your solo to remind us what the chords are. Uh, we want you to do something new and inventive, but with the chords in mind. So, literally in mind. So, they don't have to spill out onto the guitar all the time. You just have to be able to play something that, is a nod to the chord or in service of the chord, but you don't have to arpeggiate anything really. But it's, that's easier said than done. What Chet Baker did sounded like almost childlike sometimes, but it's not. But if you want to play that way, then I would transcribe some Chet Baker solos and try to figure out what the heck he's actually doing. It's one thing to say, "Oh yeah, that's that kind of Chet Baker thing," but really get in there, transcribe something, learn it note for note, see what he's doing, and try to figure out why it works. Alex says, amazing. Thank you so much. Some really useful stuff to dive into there. Love the F triad with the addition of D flat note. Simone, how are you? I always have to struggle with chord shapes. For instance, how many E major chord shapes can I use in standard tuning? Yeah, well, okay, let's see. How many E major shapes can I use in standard tuning? Well, there's 3 inversions on each of the string sets. When I say a string set, I mean 1, 2, 3 is string set 1, 2, 3, 4 is string set 2, 3, 4, 5 is string set 3, 4, 5, 6 is string set 4. So you'd want to know all of your inversions on all of the string sets. So starting low, this is E, first inversion, second inversion, root, and then that repeats depending on how much room you have up there. That's on string set 4, strings 4, 5, 6. String set 3, strings 3, 4, 5. So second inversion, root position, first inversion, second inversion, and you can keep going if you've got more neck. String set 4, 4, 3, 2. Root position, first inversion, second inversion, root, first, second, and then first string set. So that's, at least the 3 inversions on all 4 string sets. So that's 12 places to play an E major triad. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10, 11, 12. And then there's, places to do octave repeats. And then there's open triads. That's where you skip a string. So that would be these shapes. So there's one set. Let's see. Let's do another set. So you probably want to know those as well. Um, so yeah, really, I find that to be really useful. When I look down at the neck, I tend to see triads more than I notice like scaly stuff. And that's just because of a teacher that I had when I was in music school who was very, um, very big on learning the fretboard through triads. So he made us learn all those. So then once you know all your shapes, you could run them through cycles like the circle of fourths, E. So if you just kept in this one shape, you could learn. You could follow that around. E, A, D, G, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat or F sharp, B, E, A, D, G, C. So you could do that just with one shape. You could also do it with voice leading, where you cycle through all three triad inversions. So E, A, D, G, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, or C sharp, F sharp, B, E, A, like that. So that's useful too, seeing how things connect. Um, yeah, I find triads to be really important when I'm playing melodically. More often than not, I'm just thinking about, okay, we're in E. Here's an E triad. That's all just around this E triad, going above it and below it and finding the stuff in between. I'm not thinking about a whole scale. I'm just thinking about these three notes and what's around them that I can hear. Right. So, yeah, really useful. Triads aren't just busy work that teachers give to students to keep them busy. At least I never feel that way. I'm so glad that triads are pretty readily available to me. It's a good way to map the fretboard. Well, Corey says, "Can we get a close up of that new Jag?" Sure. Here it is. It was recently refinished by Dan Strain of Danocasters. So even though, bar just fell out. Even though this is a new finish, you can see it's kind of weathered a little bit, right? And then this is a Spitfire guard that I bought from some guy on Reverb that I thought was really beautiful. I mean, I thought the guard was beautiful. I don't know if the guy was beautiful or not. Original hardware, original pickups, switches and stuff. And here's the headstock. So I bought this last year. It's a 62 Jaguar that somebody had stripped all the paint off of. I don't know what color it was because it was all stripped off, but uh, the I liked the raw wood look, but they didn't really do a great job of finishing the finish. So it was kind of sticky, especially in the summertime, and that was no fun. I'd be playing, and then the guitar would be stuck to my shirt, or to my pants. So I decided to get it refinished, and I thought maybe I could get Dan of Danocasters to refinish my guitar, and I reached out, and he did. So I had to first send it to my friend Shelby in Chicago. He has a company called Black Bobbin Guitars. He makes guitars, and he also sells guitars. I mean, he sells the guitars he makes, but he also has a shop where he sells other types of guitars. But he was at Chicago Music Exchange for a long time. uh, he knows a lot about guitars, new and old, and so he helped me through the process. I sent the guitar to him. He took it apart and sent the body to Chicago Fretworks to strip all the stuff off. The thing about Dan at Danocaster is he doesn't want to deal with any prep work. You have to send him a body that's ready to paint, and this guitar that I had was not ready to paint. So I sent it to Shelby, who offered to help me out. Shelby in Chicago passed it along to Chicago Fretworks, who really properly stripped it, filled in a couple of little holes, and just got it really ready to go. Then they sent it on to Dan, I think he's in Nashville. Just the body, just the body, and then I'll run all that in reverse, and Shelby put it back together and sent it to me, and this is what I got. I picked this copper color. It wasn't one that Dan had used before. Um, he really tends to do stuff that's period correct. He does really great sunbursts, and you know all the array of colors that you might associate with real vintage Fender guitars. But I wanted this copper, and he said okay. So I sent him some pictures. He asked me, like, what do you mean exactly by copper? So I sent him some pictures, and we went back and forth. And he's really good at what he does, and I could not be happier. This is exactly the color that I wanted. It's kind of, I don't know how much is coming across uh, on screen here, but it's not unlike a a Dan Electro. That's what I'm trying to think of. It's not unlike a Dan Electro kind of copper finish. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Who else is here? What else can I get into? Corey, I hope you were happy with that close up. Adam, who do you think are go-to guys if you want to study some good voice leading for jazz guitar? This is from Minty Green. Who do you think are the go-to guys if you want to study some good chord voice leading for jazz guitar? Um, I think Jim Hall would be a great guy to study. Um, I mentioned before you could hear him with Sonny Rollins, you can hear him with Jimmy Giuffre, you can hear him on his own records. He's great at voice leading. Really, pretty astounding the things that Jim Hall does on the guitar. Ted Green would be another guy I would study for voice leading. He his thing is much more panoramic. He's Ted Green is mostly, there's not a lot of recordings of him, and the one that is the easiest to get is his solo guitar record. So on that record, because it's solo guitar, he's doing a lot. He's playing harmony and bass lines and melodies, and there's a lot to take in. But if you really uh, listen in, you can hear the voice leading. Um, Something you might want to check out: Ry Cooder, uh, on a record of his called Jazz, recorded a solo guitar thing that I think is called Flashes, and it's a Bix Beiderbecke thing that uh, he worked out on the guitar with a lot of help from Ted Green. If you listen to it, you can. And what I mean, it's acknowledged on, it's a point of fact that Ted Green helped him. That might be a neat place to start if you wanted to transcribe something. And normally, I wouldn't say that Ry Cooder is a go-to guy for voice leading, because what he does is real different from that. But that one particular thing on the Jazz album that, again, I think is called Flashes, would be a neat thing to check out. Um, uh, Barney Castle, really good with any of the poll winners records. There's a couple of those records called the poll winners, with him and Ray Brown and Shelly Manne. You can really hear the guitar on those. Really inventive. Um, those would be the guys that I think of. There's, I'm sure, many more. Uh, I mean, Gene Bertoncini is really great at it, but I mostly know him from his book, Approaching the Guitar, and I don't have any Gene Bertoncini records. I've heard him play some over the years, but if I don't know of a particular record to check out, but see if you can find something by Gene Bertoncini. Um, yeah, those are the people that come to mind. I'd be curious to know if anybody else has some ideas here. Uh, Rafael says his solo on "Well You Needn't" is an example of this. The harmony is F7 and G flat 7. It's complicated because it's easy to sound repetitive, and it rides through these chords without sounding repetitive. Rafael, is that a Jim Hall record of "Well You Needn't"? Is that what you're talking about? I assume that it is. Robert says, my favorite guitarist. I assume you're talking about Jim Hall. Hey, John. Oh, man, you're just getting here. We're almost done. But it's nice to see you here. Bobby Quigley says, hey, Adam, hope you are well. Is it possible to talk about your writing and maybe different processes you have and think about structure? Bobby, do you mean songwriting or instrumental writing? Let me know. Oscar says, hi, I've been studying Ted Green's book, Modern Chord Progressions, as a fan of him, and I've been going through the chords in the book, but I am having trouble playing chords that fit. Any tips? Let's see. Okay, I'll answer the easy stuff, and then I'll get into the other stuff. Martin Taylor, maybe. Yeah, Martin Taylor's a great player. Julian Lage, great voice leading, absolutely. Ed Bickert, yes. Johnny Smith, yes. George Van Epps, woo, yeah. All these. Jim Campolongo, absolutely, on his ballads does some beautiful voice leading. George Van Epps, Johnny Smith, Ed Bickert, absolutely. I only mentioned Jim Hall, first and foremost, because he's the one that I've listened to the most and spent the most time with. Johnny Smith, I've only transcribed a couple of things, and of course, they're impeccable, his guitar arrangements, and Van Epps as well. Chet Baker's solo on Well You Needn't. Okay. I don't know Chet Baker's solo on Well You Needn't. And Tim Lurch, of course, Tim Lurch. So backing up, I'm gonna get to two more questions here. Oscar's question about Ted Green's modern chord progressions, and then uh, the question about who inspired me in my style of accompaniment and my writing process. Okay, that's a lot, but I'm going to try it. Who inspired me in my style of accompaniment? Uh, a little bit Ted Green, uh, a little bit Jim Hall. If you can hear records where it's just him and somebody else, like Jim Hall made a record with Ron Carter, just guitar and bass. That's really great. I think it's called Alone Together. Jim Hall made a duo record with Red Mitchell, another great bass player. Um, Jim Hall made a duo record with, who do I want to say? Oh, Bob Brookmeyer, valve trombonist. So I really love the way that Jim Hall accompanies. Also, there were years when I lived in San Francisco in the early '90s when I played a lot of gigs with singers, and so some of my accompaniment style I think comes from just doing it a lot and having to figure out a way to do it. It's kind of stripped down. I don't tend to play big, fat chords a lot. I imply the time more than I play heavy time. That was some of that stuff of stripping it down to smaller chords and less rhythm was just survival on, 3 or 4 hour gig. I couldn't be just playing all the time. I needed to find a way to to pace myself. Also, it gives you a place to go. If you start with kind of a stripped down approach, you can always get bigger. If you start with big chords and a lot of rhythm, you can kind of only stay there or go down because there's not much more to way to ratchet it up. So part of it for me was like finding a sweet spot that could work at the beginning of a gig where I didn't really know how it was going to go, or at the beginning of even of a tune that's just enough to feel solid and supportive to a singer, but um, not so much that it's just overwhelming or exhausting. So that's my style of accompaniment. How do you make those Ted Green chords fit right melodically? That's a good question. Well, one thing I would do is start to really focus on what the melodies are in those chords. Like, because of the way guitar diagrams are presented, and this is not a Ted Green issue, this is just a guitar issue, we tend to look at the bottom part because that there's a number like what fret it's at. Okay, and the bottom, the bass note, I mean the bottom, when I say the bottom, I mean the lowest note, not the bottom here, but the bottom in sound. And the last thing we tend to think of is that there's a melody here. So if you had this chord progression, you might think that it's about, because that was the bass movement. Uh, but think about the melody. Like, so pick a page out of the Modern Chord Progressions book and just play through it, really thinking about melody, and do some exercises of your own with melody. So if we're talking about one, let's do 1 6 2 5 in G and make it all pretty diatonic. So I'm not doing secondary dominant. So it's G major 7, E minor 7, A minor 7, D7, G major 7. So I'm going to do that with one note on top of everything. I'm going to put E on top of everything. Sorry, one more time. Now I'm going to do it with A on top of everything. Now I'm going to do it with D on top of everything. So you see what I mean? Like you're really letting the melody be the driver. Now let's have it where the melody goes up. So I'll start on D and just go up by scale steps. E, F sharp, G, A. So D, E, sorry, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Now I'll do the same thing, but I'll start on E. So E, F sharp, G, A, B. Now I'll come back down. B, A, G, F sharp, E. Or I'll go down from here. E, D, C, B, A. Right? So do exercises like that where it's all about the melody. You could also do a pattern. So or see what I'm doing? So there, part of Ted Green's book is organized around melody. I forget which chapter it is, but he might even say at the beginning of that chapter that, oh, this is a new thing that's going to be organized by melody, but make up your own. Practice that way, and I think you'll have a much better grasp of the melody. Let's see. Jim Hall's records with Bill Evans are really great. Of course, John. What the heck am I even thinking? Yes, Jim Hall, Undercurrent with Bill Evans is a fantastic record. Really great. Okay, last question, because Bobby asked and then he clarified, which I appreciate. Instrumental writing process, if possible. You know, I try to start with some kind of idea about what kind of piece I want to write. So it's instead of just a blank slate and pick up the guitar and hope to get, hit by lightning, I try to have a particular motivation, which could appear in some different ways. One, I'll play this thing that I just wrote. I'll play it first, and then I'll tell you how I wrote it. Let's see. Yeah. That's I made a couple mistakes, but hopefully you could hear through that. That's a piece that I just wrote yesterday, and my idea for the song was write something like if you're the guest on a late night chat show, like if you're my age, that would be Johnny Carson or maybe uh, Letterman or Jay Leno. And they introduce you. You walk out from behind the curtain, and you go sit down on the seat next to the host. What's the music the band plays when you walk out? So what's your walk on music for the late night show? So I wanted to have something kind of bluesy and not too fast, not too rocking, but just kind of so I thought that would be fun to walk to, and I like the blues, and so I thought that was a good representation of me. So now that was the setting or the idea, but now the nitty gritty of like, okay, well, how do you do that? Like, where do you start? What do you do? So I picked a key, B, that was just out of thin air. It could be any key. Um, but instead of starting on the one chord, which most blues type tunes do, I thought, well, maybe I'll do a little bit different, and I'll start on the four. So I'll go 4, 1, 4, 1. So now I need this kind of groove. That's just a groove I like. So I was thinking about that groove, which I think of as like a New Orleans-y kind of thing, like piano players playing that thing even more than guitar players. So then I needed a melody, and this just came to me. And actually, it was a little bit different when I first wrote it. The rhythm of it was different, but as I kept going, and when I got to the bridge section, um, I found I was using a similar rhythm, and I didn't want to have the main part of the tune and the bridge part of the tune using the same rhythm. So I actually changed the rhythm of this section so that I could use that rhythm in the bridge. Does that make sense? Like, I didn't know I needed to change this till I got to the bridge. So here's the A section. And now I wanted to change keys. We're only, whatever that is, 8 bars in, but normally in a tune, I might not change keys that quickly, but I'm only walking from here to here. So I need to get, need to get some more going on. So I got to this B note, and it seems like we could still be on an E chord or a B chord with that B. But I thought, let's modulate. Let's go somewhere different. What's a chord that has B in it that's not E or B? Well, G has it. That's the third. And this is almost Beatlesy to me. Not this rhythm feel that we're still in New Orleans, but going to a totally new key and then having this kind of like walk down thing. It's kind of like Strawberry Fields or something. Living is easy with eyes closed. But I didn't want to go into full Strawberry Fields, so I thought, let's just do like a 1-4-5 with this as the theme. So now C, D. So I'm just going G, C, D, and each one gets this walk down. But on the D, I thought, you know what? I'm almost at my seat now. I've got to kind of wrap things up. I can't just keep this walk down thing going forever. So this chord hit me. Just I've got the walk down. Normally we get to here, so I just filled in the harmony and then went, where does that chord want to go? Well, I just heard that. I don't want to get into the theory of why that might sound the way it does. I didn't write it from that point of view. I just thought, we're going down. Let's do that again. Let's do it one more time, but fake out. I'm not quite ready for the final chord. Let's do it one more time. Back home. And so that's the tune. It's called Drag. So that's a little bit of my process. On the whole, I guess it has to do with think about a mood, try to balance the elements so there's not too much of one thing and not enough of another. And the only way you know that is to record it and listen back. You can never, or I can never tell on paper or even by playing it. I need to record it and listen to it and go, oh, it's got a little too much of that, not enough of this. That's like recording it and listening is just like tasting something when you're cooking. You can't just follow the recipe. You actually got to get in there and taste it and then make adjustments. So that's important. Another way that I sometimes will approach writing instead of thinking of a particular scenario is just, I'll think about a gig and people that I want to play with and what would feel good to play with that group, and maybe what do we not have going on in the repertoire already. Oh, maybe we don't have a waltz. I'll write a waltz. Maybe we don't have any tunes in the key of B. I'll write something in B. Maybe we don't have anything that starts on the sharp 4 half diminished chord. So I'll write something that starts on it. Just so that all the tunes in your repertoire at the gig don't have the same kind of ingredients in them. You want to mix it up a little bit, Simone, I don't know that B.B. King is that Chains and Things. I don't know that. Rafael, oh man, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here and asking good questions and just being here with us all. I'm going to sign off. Feel like, yeah, I've said plenty. I will be back next week. We'll do it again. Tell a friend, let them know we're doing this. It's nice to have people here. It's nice to have this cozy group that seems to keep coming back. It'd be cool to have some new folks here. Also, I want to mention I have a Patreon that you can check out. It's called Guitar Tips Pro. If you go to guitartipspro.com, or you can go to patreon.com/guitartipspro. Lots of lessons there and interviews and cool stuff like that. So thanks so much. See you next week.